Good afternoon. Okay, we got a slideshow going too. I'm Scott Hebert from Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada. Next slide, please. In 2015, with no prior experience farming, I tore up the lawn around my house and started my own farm. So last picture was from 2015. This was from this past season. Like so many others, I was drawn to farming from an ideological standpoint. I wanted to grow the best food, support my community, and help push the food system in a positive direction. But I wanted to make money doing it. Anyone who is broke can tell you not having money isn't that fun of a lifestyle to live. I went on a quest to look for a profitable farming system that I could implement on my family's land. I didn't mind what I produced as long as it was good for the land, grew nutrient-dense food, and provided me the lifestyle I wanted to live. On top of all these parameters, I was also dealing with the limitations of not having very much money to start up. From the time I really first started looking at it, it took me a couple of years to find a style I could emulate on my land, but eventually I found out about a style called spin farming. SPIN is an acronym that stands for Small Plot Intensive. You're intensively managing a small land base with multiple successions of crops coming off of one bed in a single growing season. By using hand tools and planting them intensively, you're able to produce a full-time income on a small plot of land. The timing of my quest to find a style I could use was extremely fortunate. In 2015, there was a blossoming market gardening community that was just starting to come together. Jean-Martin Fortier from Quebec had written a book called The Market Gardener, which showed how to have an efficient farm and detailed how he and his wife would produce over $100,000 on 1.5 acres. I really wanted to see one of these farms for myself, so I went looking for someone I could meet and possibly get a consultation with. I went looking for the best spin farmer in my area. 2.5 hours from me is Kelowna, BC, and I found out about this farmer named Curtis Stone. He had a very unique farm. He took spin farming model and was farming in the heart of the city. His farm was unlike anything that I'd ever seen. Instead of having one big plot, he was farming the front yards and backyards of the people in his community. So this is downtown Kelowna. This was actually, you can see there, he's between two houses, and this was actually a vacant lot that he took over, but he converted it. But all his other plots, he had, I think, 7 plots around, and it was farming front yards and backyards right in the downtown of Kelowna. He had bikes with wagons that he hauled his tools and gear around with, and used the same bikes to deliver to restaurants in the downtown core of Kelowna. Curtis took spin farming model and dialed it up to another notch. By eliminating low-value crops and focusing on what made the most money, in 5 years he was grossing over $100,000 on the 2/3 of an acre that all his plots took up. In early 2015, I went and did a paid consultation on Curtis's farm, and at the same time, he was working on writing a book and had developed an online course called Profitable Urban Farming. With all that information, I was almost ready to start my farm. I went to work. This is from when I first started to till up. Those are my first couple of amateur beds that I got in there, but I went home and I started working. With my newly acquired knowledge, I figured I would need around $20,000 in equipment to really get properly set up. The problem was I didn't exactly have $20,000. I didn't really have any spare cash. I spent the little amount of money that I did have, and I started to grow microgreens while I figured it out. Microgreens are essentially sprouts grown in soil. The one really nice thing is that you can have a high-value crop in about 2 weeks. Within a couple of months from meeting Curtis, I had made my first sale to a local restaurant. So that's my pea shoots on, or sunflower shoots on a little dish there. That was pretty neat. I had some early traction, but I still needed to get money together to start my farm in the spring of 2016. I didn't have $20,000, but I did have a $20,000 truck. In the winter of 2015, I sold my truck and downgraded to a cheap car, so I had the money to start my farm. I had all the right equipment, but that doesn't really mean anything other than I'd spend a whole bunch of money. I still didn't have a farm that was making money. I kept an off-farm job until my farm was at a place where I could support myself. When you're first starting out, you think that the important part of farming is producing a product, but you soon learn that selling is the most critical part of having a successful business. I'd rather teach a hustler how to farm than teach a farmer how to hustle. With that mindset, I started getting after it. Not only had I gone deep financially with my off-farm job, but I still had a huge workload as well. I wanted to work so badly that I was an emotional mess that first year. It was probably the most stressful year of my life. Being a solo entrepreneur, you're in control of every aspect of the farm. From production to sales, you have to do all the parts if you want to be successful. I started selling to restaurants in that first season, but it was slow going. I had plans to go into a farmer's market, but 2 weeks before the start of the market season, with crops almost ready to come out of the ground, I would learn that even though I had been told it wouldn't be an issue getting into my application for the market, it was rejected. Everyone has it in them to keep going when things are easy, but you'll find out what really matters to you when everything starts going sideways. I felt this was something that was really important to me, so I kept going. I tried other ways to market my stuff, but most of it would fall flat. Nearing the end of my first season, I felt very dejected. I learned that my mentor Curtis had been selling to local grocers, so I approached the stores in my area about selling there. To my surprise, everyone said yes. It was late in the season. It was too late in the first season to start there, but I would return this spring. I sell mostly 5-ounce bags of greens, so this is my spring mix here. I do mostly lettuce, but I do lettuce, spinach, arugula. At the start of my second season, the local grocers would become the centerpiece of how I would start selling my products. After that, everything really started to click. I had built a good reputation at the stores I was selling at, and soon those relationships would produce new connections and new opportunities. It still took a while for it still took a whole nother season before I was able to support myself, but last year, at the start of my third season, I was able to go working for myself full-time on my farm. I now sell to local grocers, some restaurants, and a non-profit aggregator that takes my product into larger cities in downtown Vancouver. Ever since I started in 2015, the market gardening group has now matured into a vibrant community. There are plenty of examples of people who have 6-figure farms on under 1.5 acres. A business should be a vehicle for you to do the things that you want to do and will carry you where you want to go. I've learned a lot of things about myself since I started my business, but the main one is that I want to help other people with their dreams of starting their own farms. Last year, I started a daily YouTube channel that chronicles the grind of running my farm. My hope is that I can share the lessons that I learned and help to expedite others' progress. I don't know if there's a way of avoiding all the stress that comes with a hard undertaking, but I believe I can help a little and do my part to push things in the right direction. It was a bit of a rocky start, but going into my 4th growing season, my business is debt-free and can provide me a lifestyle that I want to live. Having a farm is like trying to finish a puzzle made up of other puzzles, but you're not even sure what the picture on the box looks like or if you have the right pieces. It's incredibly challenging. At times it's infuriating, but when you're able to figure it out, it can be one of the most rewarding feelings. Thank you for inviting me down here and for the opportunity to share my story.